share with you the information that we've gathered since Thursday, the 17th of April 2014, which marked the beginning of the Easter long weekend period, till the midnight 21st of April, which marked the end of the Easter long weekend period. As you know, the Road Traffic Management Corporation is the entity within government charged with the responsibility of leading the work around road traffic management. I will now invite the Minister of Transport to take us through the statement, which we have prepared to share with you, after which I will then invite questions from members of the media. Minister.
Thank you very much, Diani, the Program Director of this event. The Deputy Director General for Roads, Mr. Chris Tlabisa, the Chairperson of the RTMC Board, Mr. Zola Majavu, and board members who are in the audience there, CEO of the RTMC, Advocate Makosini Msibi, CEOs from other transport entities, as mentioned by Tiani, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. At midnight, on Monday, the 21st of April, we marked the end of the Easter long weekend road traffic management campaigns that were carried out by traffic authorities throughout the country. Once again, the spotlight fell on us as Team Transport, as thousands of people embarked on journeys to various destinations for religious and leisure reasons. The country's national routes, such as the N1, N2, N3, and N4, among others, experienced an increase in the number of vehicles traveling towards various destinations. Ladies and gentlemen, festive seasons always place an added responsibility on traffic authorities, who have the mammoth task of ensuring that people comply with the rules of the road and facilitate seamless flow of traffic. Although we have taken a decision to ensure that we make road safety a 365-day business, it is inevitable that we double up our efforts when we approach the festive season and Easter weekends. This is due to the obvious fact that there's a remarkable rise in traffic volumes. The National Traffic Police, located within the RTMC, get into partnerships with our provincial and municipal traffic authorities and the South African Police Service to reduce and, where possible, eliminate the risk of crashes on our roads. Working under very trying circumstances at times, they also manage the flow of traffic and ensure that minor incidents, such as car breakdowns, do not result in major incidents. They do their work despite hostility from uncooperative motorists at times, with one primary objective in mind: to save people's lives. With regard to trends and causes, according to preliminary information at our disposal thus far, we have experienced an increase in traffic volumes along major arterial roads or routes leading out of Gauteng, with the N1 north and south, N3 towards KwaZulu-Natal, and N4 towards Mpumalanga, amongst others. The official vehicle population has significantly grown over the years, and this has translated to an added burden on our road infrastructure network and law enforcement capacity. In 2013, we had at least 10,741,895 registered vehicles. This number has since grown to 11,127,925. Also of interest is that in 2013, the number of drivers or driver license issued were 10,271,066. This number has since increased to about 10,766,228 cumulatively, meaning that 495,162 new drivers were recently licensed to use our road networks. The process of compiling statistics on road crashes and the resulting fatalities and injuries is a challenging process that requires a meticulous and calculated approach. It involves the Departments of Transport and Health, transport entities with a road safety mandate, provincial governments, and the South African Police Service. Information from pathology units in provinces is also relied on for verification. As signatories to the international conventions, we're also required to comply with the relevant norms and standards. These include conventions of the World Health Organization, amongst others. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all done to give our citizens the assurance that these statistics are rooted in integrity and do not in any way leave out any incident where members of their families were affected. With this said, we believe that there's room for improvement to enhance the integrity and quality of these statistics. While the fixation is understandably around the number of fatalities recorded over this period, it is also important to make an assessment of the genesis and context within which these crashes occur and get all of us to understand each road user's responsibilities. It must be further understood that the Department of Transport and its entities will always discharge their responsibility to disseminate messages and information about road safety without prejudice. We continue to review our policies and legislation that are aimed at improving safety on our roads through proper infrastructure, enforcement, and awareness. Road safety, first and foremost, is an individual road user's responsibility. Once this notion is lost on any road user, motorists, passengers, and pedestrians alike, the battle against road carnage is undermined. The carnage we continue to experience on our roads is instigated by a number of factors, mostly embedded in human behavior and vehicle factors. Some of these factors are as follows: alcohol and substance abuse, reckless and negligent driving, unroadworthy vehicles, overtaking on blind rises, barrier lines, and in areas of poor visibility, a total disregard for rules of the road, corruption, unlicensed and illegally licensed drivers, distracted driving, where drivers use cell phones while driving, lack of courtesy towards other road users, irrational impatience and road rage, failure to use safety belts or buckle up, as well as child restraints, overloading and hazardous chemical crashes, impatience even at road construction sites, fatigue caused by failure to rest at periodic intervals, and stray animals on our roads, particularly in rural areas. The question of our road conditions in some areas is a concern. There's evidence to the effect that roads in a bad state contribute to road crashes. To address this challenge, the department issues grants to provinces in need for road maintenance, and while some of the provinces have made some progress in fixing their roads, others are still lagging behind in this regard. We are working with them to ensure that whatever challenge that arises are addressed. One of the major disturbing elements emerging from the information gathered thus far is the vulnerability of pedestrians. At least 40% of people dying from road-related incidents are pedestrians. Their vulnerability manifests itself in the following ways: drinking and walking, including jaywalking, wrong and dangerous crossing of the road, informal settlements situated alongside busy roads and intersections, walking on and crossing of freeways and highways, and failure to wear visible clothing at night. With regard to the statistics, the figures for this past Easter long weekend indicate that our efforts in law enforcement are yielding some positive outcomes. They also show that our messages are reaching the target audience and that road users too are heeding our call to make road safety their personal responsibility. The road towards halving fatalities by 2020 to what it was in 2011 is a long one laced with many challenges. The 2011 to 2020 United Nations Decade of Action for Road Safety global campaign has placed an obligation on all signatories to attain this target. This report was compiled by the police, evaluated by the RTMC, and verified by provincial heads of departments of transport and their respective political heads. According to the RTMC preliminary figures, crashes recorded total was 148, regrettably and unfortunately resulting in 193 fatalities nationwide. These are figures captured for the period starting Thursday the 17th of April at midnight, ending Monday 21st of April at midnight. The provincial breakdown is as follows. The Eastern Cape had 19 crashes with 36 fatalities. Free State had 9 crashes with 15 fatalities. Gauteng 22 crashes with 23 fatalities. KwaZulu-Natal 39 crashes with 49 fatalities. Limpopo 23 crashes with 30 fatalities. Mpumalanga 18 crashes with 19 fatalities. Northern Cape 5 crashes with 6 fatalities. Northwest 7 crashes with 7 fatalities. Western Cape 6 crashes with 8 fatalities. The total, like I indicated, comes to about 148 crashes nationally and 193 fatalities. With regard to the analysis, if we make reference to the 2 previous years, in 2012, we recorded 181 crashes, which resulted in 217 fatalities. And in 2013, we recorded 201 crashes, which resulted in 241 fatalities. This therefore means we have made headway in reducing the number of crashes in general and fatalities in particular. This is despite the fact that there is growth in both the population size in general and the vehicle population size in particular. While there is no cause for celebration, we can, however, pat ourselves on the back as government, civil society, and the private sector for this achievement. The decline in both crashes and fatalities recorded is an indication that we are making progress in achieving the 2020 global target of halving road fatalities. We remain concerned with the high number of pedestrian fatalities, who for this year again account for 40% of the total fatalities. This figure has become an almost permanent feature in our statistics. What we did, our relative success can be attributed to the increased number of law enforcement officers and improved visibility on our roads, especially on the national roads. There were 106 roadblocks conducted, 283,323 vehicles were stopped and checked, 43,433 notices were issued, 1,094 vehicles were discontinued, 1,457 vehicles were impounded, 330 motorists were arrested for drinking or driving under the influence of alcohol. 10 motorists were arrested for dangerous or negligent driving, and 3 stolen vehicles were recovered in Gauteng. These results are also as a result of our relentless and tireless campaign of 365 days, wherein we have made road safety a constant project and not a once-off exercise targeted only for peak periods. The collective and collaborative effort of our stakeholders have paid off remarkably, with the faith-based community who use their religious platforms to spread the road safety messages. The Road Traffic Management Corporation, in conjunction with provinces and municipalities, will usher in a new national rolling enforcement plan as part of making roads safe or Make Roads Safe campaign in line with the 365 days for road safety approach. Traffic law enforcement officers across the country will stop and check no less than 1 million vehicles and drivers every month. A minimum of 10,000 drivers will be screened for alcohol per month as part of Operation Tshwara Setagwa, Arrest Drunkards, Fang Disablers. We are establishing a new multidisciplinary task team to compile road traffic statistics. The team will include the Department of Transport, the RTMC, provincial heads of transport departments, Department of Health, Stats South Africa, CSIR, and SALGA, amongst others. On behalf of the Shareholders Committee, comprising all transport and safety MECs from all the provinces, I congratulate all our law enforcement officers in all spheres of government. The SAPS, the Department of Defense, Emergency Medical Services, our private sector partners, and road safety activists and volunteers for a job well done. The nation is indebted to you for your tireless efforts. Thank you also to the media who have partnered with us in spreading the word and encouraging responsible behavior. Please continue working with us to help fight this scourge. Most of all, thank you to the millions of South African road users who heeded the message of road safety, and we urge them to continue to be road safety ambassadors. To those who are still refusing to comply, your days are numbered. It is just a matter of time before we catch you and remove you from our roads, for you are a danger to yourselves and society at large. We express our sincere and heartfelt condolences to the families of those who lost their lives and a speedy recovery to those who sustained injuries. Together, we can save millions of lives, and I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. As indicated earlier, I would now wish to invite questions in sets of 3 if possible. Please introduce yourself and the media house representing before posing questions. And the rest of the members of the panel who are here are also here to end their lunch. They are not just accompanying the minister, but they will assist here in responding to other questions that may be directed at them.
Good day, it's Kaya Kumala here from IFM News. Madam Minister, obviously there has been quite a significant decline in terms of the fatalities. What will you really attribute these to? Is it a combination of all the measures you have in place? And just concerning the 40% of pedestrians, almost a permanent feature, do you really have sufficient measures, or are you perhaps planning to reinforce your programs in capping this number? Thank you.
Okay, can we take another? Still formulating your questions, Minister. Please go ahead and...
Thank you very much, Kaya. I think the results are, like I indicated, partnerships, civil society, as well as other agencies of the state, but in particular, visible enforcement. Like I've indicated, the more than 106 roadblocks nationally, and the efforts of provinces to make sure that internally in the towns and in communities there is also visible policing has given us the results that we see today. With regard to pedestrians, I would believe that we need to strengthen our messages. We need to strengthen our education element in particular, and our efforts working together with basic education to make it possible that as part of the life skills or life orientation program, we do road safety. And the work that RTMC through their school programs has been doing, I would believe that if we massify that and encourage more of our partners like the media also to speak more to our pedestrians, it will bear results. But also we have started engaging with tavern owners so as to make sure that they also are held responsible to educate and speak to and ensure that people don't drink too much and then end up walking on the streets like I've indicated. But also the one other thing that we have observed is the dangerous crossing of roads and freeways where people just cross the freeway willy-nilly, and that is what we need to enforce. We believe that the continuous fencing off or continuous barricading of the freeways or highways would help, but the visible policing RTMC has introduced a program with what do you call it, traffic wardens, where we encourage working together with youth organizations to train people who would be visible monitors of our roads, so as to make it possible that they can caution our people on road use. But we believe we need to strengthen our work, because we need to make people aware that they need to love to live. They should really know that it is their responsibility to continuously continue expanding the days that they have been given by God on earth. So our education and education and education would actually bear results. But I believe that the team that I have here, like Tiani said, they are not here to just smile to the cameras. They can also add the information that is necessary to make sure that we can really deal with the 40% of the pedestrians. That is our biggest worry as we speak right now.
Thanks, Mr. Chairperson.
Well, I think the Minister is on point. One of the strategic areas that we spent a fair amount of time on was on education and just spreading the basic message. And I think after the formal interviews, we will share with you a clip that was done at 5 a.m. at a roadblock by our educators on road safety. The story goes something like this. Our educator stops a Kombi carrying 16 passengers. No one in that Kombi, including the driver, had buckled up.
Yes.
And our Tani, literally remonstrated with the driver and said, but for goodness sake, why aren't you wearing a safety belt? Just so we understand, because at times we think we know. This guy was wearing a safety belt, behind his back, because it is cool and stylish, and that's how they do it in Soweto. And then when he could not give an answer, the other passengers were asked, but this car is fitted with a safety belt for each and every single passenger, and no one had an answer. And lo and behold, she managed to convince them to wear safety belts. 10 minutes later, that Kombi overturned and it rolled 3 times. And there was not a single fatality arising from that particular incident. And we captured the moment on camera where an elderly man was actually thanking our educator for having taught them the basics about, wearing of safety belts. Now, it sounds simple and mundane, but the truth of the matter is, had we not stopped that Kombi at the time and insisted on the passengers, including the taxi driver, to wear seat belts, the number would have at least increased by at least another 16 persons. So the moral of the story is, let's keep on spreading the basic message of education. Wear seat belts, don't overtake on blind spots, but that responsibility rests, with all of us. And if you share that message with your fellow drinker at the pub, and remind him not to drive home, but rather empower taxis to have Maxi taxis take you home. It sounds silly and ridiculous, but I can assure you, it will save 1 or 2 more lives, and 1 life is 1 life too many to be saved. We don't have any major plans, as in a blueprint that will wow you. We chose rather to focus on the basics, and the introduction of the traffic wardens are also one of such initiatives that will cost us less money. It will be relatively quicker to train them and put them on the road, and it also increases visibility, because human behavior is such that when you see uniform, it tends to affect your behavior in a positive way.
Thank you very much. I invite a second round of questions. Amy,
Sure.
Start with you.
I've got a senior friend there. Unedited.
Thank you very much. It's Patrick O'Leary from Fleetwatch magazine. Mr. Minister, visible policing, as you've emphasized, is such an important part of road safety. And I'm told that after 10 o'clock at night, there's no budget to keep traffic officials on the road. If you look at the Free State, and I've spent time down there over the Easter weekend 24/7, there is no visible policing at night. I would have thought that would have been a must during the peak traffic period. What is the situation with that in terms of keeping visible policing 24/7, especially during high traffic? Because it's not happening. The other thing is the roads. The roads at the plateau, I think it's more serious than just, than people realize. The Leidenberg Road, for example, is a death road. The R74 should never have got into that condition. These roads are now life-threatening. They're not just holding up the economy, they're actually life-threatening. And I think the provinces need not encouraging, I think they need a big boot up there, you know what, because those roads should never have got into those conditions. They were fine. The money has been misspent in other areas or given to contractors who have abused the funds. That's a road safety issue. The other issue, Minister, congratulations on all the efforts. I was out there, I do look at it, I feel a different vibe. The N3 was different. But where to from here in the 365 days? I'll just talk on the truck driver. So we desperately need driver training. We need partnership with the government on this. We need massive input because road safety is driver training as well, and it's not there. It's been missing for years. Those three questions: what are we going to do about the provinces spending the money on fixing the roads? And visible policing, the budget, is it there or is it not there? And three, any plans ahead on government getting involved in a massive driver training effort on truck drivers? Thank you.
Thanks.
Good day, I'm Dipuo Peters from the New Age newspaper. I've got two questions, one directed to the Minister and one to the RAF CEO, Dr. Watson. Minister, in terms of police visibility, we get to see a lot of police during the Easter or during holidays, but then in between the year, there are not that much of the police visibility. What can you say about that? And then, Dr. Watson, how much have you spent in terms of compensating road victims in this Easter?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, the last one.
Okay, my name is Tando Kupela from Eyewitness News. Minister, although the number of fatalities have decreased on the country's roads this Easter weekend, too many people continue to lose their lives on the roads. My question is, what measures has the department introduced in order, to influence or change the attitudes of motorists, specifically when they're behind the wheel?
Okay, thanks, Tando. Just switch off the mic, then allow the Minister and team to respond to your questions. Minister?
I'll take I think the three questions. There would be areas that are interrelated, which speaks to into the future, what are we going to do? And I believe that what the chairperson of the RTMC has also responded to earlier also spoke to what needs to be done. Remember, I said that RTMC, in conjunction with provinces and municipalities, will enforce through the National Roading Enforcement Plan, the program Make Roads Safe campaign or Make Roads Safe campaign, as part of the 365, what happened now? As part of the 365 days of road safety approach. We believe that every day should be a day in which we save lives. But remember, we did give a figure that gave an indication of the number of traffic law enforcement officers that we have in this country. And that if you look at the number of enforcement officers vis-a-vis the number of vehicles on our roads, we are found wanting. The CEO of RTMC will speak to the point about the traffic training that and the code that we are introducing. But we also believe that we need to do the stop and checks to make sure that we deal with driver behavior in particular, because you will be able to pick up those drivers that are not licensed, but also to make sure that we check the vehicles for roadworthiness and make sure that we check also for alcohol use, because this is one of our major challenges. And that is why through RTMC we've got this operation Chora Litahwa, or Chora Sitahwa as they call it. But also working together with the CSIR as well as State South Africa, together with the Department of Health and the Department of Transport, putting together a multidisciplinary team that will actually deal on a daily basis with monitoring the statistics related to our road carnages, so that we can then have reliable and credible stats that would give us an indication on whether the 40% pedestrians we talk about, it's a true figure or what is it, the real figure. And we also believe that the South African Local Government Association will be part of that particular initiative. We believe that visible policing is actually the main contributor to this operation of the last weekend. In any given stage, if you have 106 roadblocks, you must know that we've got about 150 law enforcement officers on site. So it means that we are actually even overstretched. What happened over this weekend, we even had to make it possible that officers don't take leave, officers don't take their time off, so as to be able to make sure that we have enough. With regard to the road situation, the budget of 9.8 billion that we share through the DORA with provinces, and I just want to indicate that we have observed through the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Commission a trend that is emerging as we increase the budget to provinces through the Sihamba Sonke program. The provincial equitable share that is supposed to be used for road construction is diminishing, is getting reduced. And that is one major project that the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Commission is also focusing on. You'd remember it is chaired by the President, it has provinces in it, it has also SALGA and the infrastructure-related ministries. That is a worrying factor, because it means that you increase the money for maintenance and operation, and the money that is supposed to come in from provinces to build roads is getting reduced. We have already engaged with 2 provinces, and the program is continuing to engage with all provinces so as to make sure that they increase their own allocation, so that you don't have a situation where we almost investing in a bottomless pit. It means the money goes in and goes out the other way. The roads are getting the number of roads that, kilometers of roads that we still have backlogs on needs about 150 billion rand. So if you look at 9.8 billion, it is not even close to what we could be able to do. We have also started seeing provinces being proactive, I would want to say, in terms of understanding their own limitations and challenges, making special requests to the minister as well as to SANRAL to take over some of the roads and be able to do them as national roads under SANRAL. So it is one way of also making sure that we can contribute to better road maintenance. The total number of more than 10% of good roads in South Africa are mostly under SANRAL, and that is why provinces actually would want to add to the kilometers that SANRAL needs to do. And we're also looking at building the capacity and also benefiting from the capacity of SANRAL to support provinces. Already the Northwest is one of those provinces that is being supported by SANRAL. Eastern Cape is being supported by SANRAL, and Limpopo has also joined the KZN is one of the provinces. So quite a number of provinces are also coming on to say, over and above the roads that we give to SANRAL, we would want to tap into the capacity of SANRAL to support our limited engineering or technical capacity, so that the SANRAL can provide them with the technical capacity so that they can build the roads. And I would believe that the benefits you are not going to realize now. The benefits will be realized in 2 or 3 years' time, when the actual input of the PICC intervention as well as the SANRAL technical support to provinces has been realized. But we believe that We will keep consistent watch over provinces, and that is why we have developed a new model where instead of one capacity or one, what do you call service provider having oversight over the entire 9 provinces, we have broken down provinces into 3 and 4 and 2 to make it possible that we do have the capacity to have oversight. A province like the Northern Cape with long distances together with Free State is one block, and then you have other provinces which have been put together to be able to make sure that there is proper oversight. But one thing that we want to do is to engage provinces, in particular provincial treasuries, so as to make it possible that they don't look at the increase of the Sihamba Sonke grant in provinces and reduce their own equitable share on road infrastructure. Remember, one of the key legs in the 3-legged program for the EEE, which is enforcement, education and engineering. The engineering speaks to the road infrastructure and the conditions of the roads, dealing with potholes. In fact, we now even have a special arrangement to deal with potholes nationally. We will make the announcement very soon.
Thanks.
Everything that I've not responded to, people are around the table, they'll respond.
Before I move to Dr. Watson, maybe I can allow either the chair or the CEO of the RTMC to
First, and then I want to cover the transition in 5 days. Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Thank you, Minister. The question of the feasibility as well as the issue of the traffic of the law enforcement working 24/7. With the provinces in terms of the law enforcement, it's an issue of the basic conditions of employment. They were employed and they were classified as civil servants. They were never classified as essential services. However, discussions and negotiations are at an advanced stage to ensure that the basic conditions of employment are changed. But as a first step to that process, the law enforcement called the National Traffic Police are employed in terms of the essential services 24/7. It is on those bases that you will find visibility around the area of Gauteng for 24/7. However, the same National Traffic Policing will have a provincial footprint so as to ensure that even provinces were working 24/7. The question of the fact that provinces could not work throughout the clock simply because of the overtime issues. All provinces leading to the Easter holidays, we had a discussion and agreed. Hence, all their law enforcement were 24/7. This is a question of a 30% of the salary bill that is allowed to be the issue of the overtime. That matter was dealt with, and all provinces alluded to that aspect. The issue as to where to after this Easter. There are 3 issues that are supposed to be happening in terms of the strategic document of the RTMC. There's more mass mobilization in terms of road safety campaign, wherein we'll be touching base with all institutions of higher learning, making students aware of the importance of the road safety. Community mobilization and ensuring that communities are aware of the usage of the roads. The Minister has touched in terms of the faith-based organizations that already participated and taking part in terms of this process of ensuring that all citizens are enlightened as to what road safety is. Indeed, road safety should be pitched to the level where we have pitched the HIV and AIDS campaign, simply because road safety is also one of the killer diseases if we're not dealing with in terms of road. So it's the issue calling, it's a clarion call made to all citizens to assume responsibility of their lives and the road safety in particular. Then the issue that we are also dealing with in relation to the pedestrians. We know that most of the accidents in relation to the pedestrians happened at the build-up areas. It is very critical that those people that are visiting taverns, and the Minister has touched on this point, were engaging tavern owners to ensure that when their patrons have taken more than what is necessary, they should not allow them to walk away. They should have to call the taxis to ferry those people to their various destinations. But also, the intervention will be the issue of the taverns that are mainly on the main roads, that such licenses should be revisited because most of the taverns are based at the main roads level, even where the schools are. The speed at the build-up area, it's also one of the major concerns. And people are taking advantage of the fact that there's no law enforcement. And the minister has said, you will be our guest. So we're intensifying all efforts to ensure that we deal with these matters. As to the truck driver driving skills, we already have partnerships with a number of truck owners who are training all the truck drivers. I will not mention the names of those trucks because we are not on commercial for them. But what we are then saying, we're taking responsibility to ensure that also the truck drivers. But we can also mention that also from the public transport point of view, Santago has also taken the initiative to ensure that they train their drivers at their driver academy, which is based at Velcom. So we're taking all necessary steps to ensure that all of us assume this responsibility.
Just as a follow-up to the truck driver training program, it's just by way of information. You'll be pleased to know that in February this year, we awarded our best drivers in various categories, articulated, non-articulated, buses, and so on and so forth. We've got 2 of our drivers who will be competing in an international competition in Poland in August, and one of them is a lady from KZN. So, at least something is being done on that front, and depending on how well we do, we might be able to source in more sponsorship to intensify that.
Before I hand over to Mr. Shabisa, I'm sure you're asking yourself what's the Amazon Day. It's actually our transport name for the provincial road maintenance that comes from Treasury, and it's been transferred for purposes of maintaining roads in provinces. And the minister spoke of DORA. DORA is a division of revenue.
It's not a woman.
Division of Revenue Act, which the vehicles are
They know by now.
disperses funds to our provinces.
It's not a certain
Mr. Kavisa and then Dr. Watsi.
Thank you, Diane. I think it's just good to note that the successes that you see today is as a result of our fully fledged RPMC, which has not been functioning for quite a number of years. Now we've got a fully fledged board, which is among ourselves today, as well as the CEO, which is here, and the chairperson is sitting next to us. I think it's for that reason that you see the 365 days program that is being now rolled out vigorously across the country, as you can see now. So this entity will be doing very well in terms of, and it started doing very well in terms of focusing on these 5 pillars of road safety, the safer vehicles, as the minister has been alluded to, in terms of stopping and checking each and every vehicle that we stop on our roadblocks, that is the multidisciplinary roadblocks. You look at safer roads, the minister has touched on that one as well, which looks at the engineering part of our road network, which talks to the issues of fixing potholes, timers fixing of the potholes, and also looking into the geometry of the road network itself. That is what is happening through our provincial departments and together with our SANRAL as well. So also looking at the safer road users, that is where the problem is. In fact, the minister spoke about the 40% pedestrians. That is where the safer road users is taking place, focusing mainly on the pedestrian, looking at the cycling, the cyclists and so forth, so that we engage with them so that they can also learn as to how to use the roads. Well, that is where the problem is at present. The safer drivers, I like that one because although we have covered it lightly, but I just wanted to focus on this. The minister has instructed us to go and look at the DLTCs, the driving license testing centers, where there's high fraudulent issuance of the driver's licenses. So we are very hitting hard on those DLTCs, as also the vehicle test stations, where you see a vehicle getting a roadworthy certificate, but not seeing the pit where it is getting tested. So those are the issues that we are tightening our screws and tightening our bolts, and our inspectors are out there to make sure that all these people who are issuing the driving licenses, the road safety, the roadworthy certificates for vehicles are clamped down so that we deal with them decisively. So these are the things that we are working very closely with the associations and also the driving schools to formalize them so that they don't mushroom all over the place and issue these driving licenses willingly. So that is why I think the minister is very correct in saying the overall 365 days is going to be dealing with those kind of issues. It's not an event, it's a program of road safety, 365 days. That's going to be focusing in all these issues on our road safety. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think the question relates to claims for Easter. As the RAF, our responsibility is to assist with the indemnification, compensation, and rehabilitation. So there are 4 things we pay for. We pay for medical costs, funeral costs, as well as income support and then money related to pain and suffering. Typically, claims wouldn't come in so soon after a particular period. You are allowed to claim within a 5-year period. So to get a sense of what claim volumes we're talking about at the RAF, we basically receive about 12,000 claims a month. In the last year, we received 147,000. And we paid over 22 billion rand in the last 12 months. So you're looking at monthly payments of over 2 billion. You can equate that to an average month like you see in April. What I will say, though, is that I think the initiatives Minister and the transport fraternity, including RTMC, has articulated today, are actually very positive. In some of the figures Minister has spoken to, it's clear that there are more cars. It's clear that there are more roads. The road network is bigger. And despite that, you have your fatalities dropping in number. That is definitely a sign that the initiatives embarked upon by Team Transport, as Minister calls them, is working. What I do think is very important, and it relates to the last question around the attitudes of motorists and road users, is simply to note that every year there are almost 495,000 new licensed drivers, which means all the initiatives which are implemented, which are working, we've seen it this Easter, they are working, need to continue. Because every year you basically have a 5% churn in the number of people who are driving or using your roads. And therefore you need to make sure that this message, which works, lands with each and every one of those people. But I think we need to appreciate that the initiatives embarked upon this Easter actually proved successful.
Thanks, Dr. Watson. I wish to invite the last round of questions. 3. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Director. I am one of the FBOs because I'm coming in, I'm not a journalist, I'm just coming in because I heard the minister mentioning FBOs in her address. Yeah, we are very happy as a church because this period that you are talking about belongs to the church. Distance. So, though I live in Guatemala Springs, but I happen to be in Kimberley, where the launch took place by the minister. So, we are hearing everything, but the law enforcement part of it, we as a church are worried, because as we come from all these distances, the law enforcers, they stop, they put the driver at the back, don't know what's happening there, then the driver comes and tells us that, no, I've given them something.
Yeah.
Let's go. Now, what do we
No, thanks a lot. We've noted that, and I think you can talk to the DDG responsible to share further information on. Thanks for your contribution. Any last round? Okay.
Mulimo Nemuta from SABC. Minister, regarding pedestrian fatalities, has it been established as to which parts of the country is this problem more prevalent?
And the very last one.
My name is Vanello from Voice of Timisa, Community Radio Station. My question is based on the local taxi industry, where you have drivers that are running each and every day without having licenses. What is the department doing on that?
Okay, thanks. Minister and
Before he responds to the which part of the country has got more challenges with regard to pedestrians, I would want to respond to the faith-based organizations. This thing, I think that is why we in Tate we want partnership with faith-based organizations. It's also for appeal to the moral conscience of our society. Because bribing traffic officers means you contribute to lawlessness, you contribute to allowing vehicles that are supposed to transport people becoming weapons, but also you contribute to allowing people to become murderers. So I think it is important that even beyond just the prayer services, we need to speak to the person. The faith-based organizations, we are informed, at any given stage, we've got more than 5.3 million people that are either in a church or somewhere gathered to pray to God in one way or the other. So that's why we believe that that is the audience that we also need to target, so that they can also contribute to spreading the message. And I have been party to many church services over the weekend, and I've heard messages of this nature being carried across. But we need to deal with corruption, because it is that level of corruption that increases the carnage on our roads, including working with the taxi industry. We're working with the associations, but also in particular with Santaco, which is the taxi council. They've got a program called Operation Tlokomela. Operation Tlokomela makes sure that they attend to the issues of vehicles, but also the drivers. And I believe that there are those who go, or even who slip through the cracks. But the rolling program on road safety that we spoke about, that RTMC will implement, would also be focusing on those particular areas to show that the law enforcement was biting. You had taxis from various provinces appealing to their to premiers to speak to the minister to please allow them to go through, because they've got challenges. And that for me was an indication that the taxi industry knows that they have to respect the law, and they know that they are not going to be allowed to drive. If they drive out through Gauteng because they've bribed their way through, they must know that they will get into the Free State or in KZN or in Limpopo, and they'll meet other law enforcement officers who would not necessarily relate to what they know they are doing in Gauteng. And those who come from other provinces who come through Gauteng equally will meet with law enforcement officers that are not going to Uchilo or MEC was Gauteng what asibenywa asintsangu thina. So it is those type of things that says if we all take that approach, we will be able to deal with this particular type of carnage. And the pedestrians issue he will address. Okay, the taxi academy. We're also supporting as the Department of Transport that academy, and we believe that it needs to be increased, because the taxi industry actually contributes about 40 billion rand to the economy of South Africa. It employs more than 300,000 people. So if you look at the size of the taxi industry in itself, through the Transport Education and Training Authority, which is the SITA for transport, we also believe that the taxi drivers needs to be a target for training, but also just for them to be trained on customer care, courtesy, and all those type of things. And that is why we're working with Santaco on this taxi academy, so as to make sure that we produce professional taxi operators, professional taxi drivers who would value their jobs, who will value the input that they make into the economy as well as society. But we also need to understand that where they come from, and it has been a long way, and but we now stemming it in the bud, and we believe we will make headway with Operation Tlokomela. We started with the vehicles, we're gunning for the drivers. And the drivers themselves, in my various engagements with them at taxi ranks, they've given us an indication on how they feel vulnerable as workers. So I believe with the Minister of Labour, this is one area that we also need to enter to make it possible that our taxi drivers can really be given the dignity that they deserve.
Thank you. We'll take Advocate Msili and then the Registrar of
The issue of where these fatalities in relation to the pedestrians are happening, it's mainly at the build-up areas, remote areas, rural areas, and indeed in terms of the human settlement patterns in our country. those areas that are built alongside of the freeways and major arterial roads causes more of the people settling along the side the roads to be crossing. But mainly, the highest number, it's most at the rural area as well as farming areas, communities.
Mr. Chu. Thank you, Program Director. I think we realize that as much as we have serious challenges that still face us, we have in fact turned the corner. And I always like to take us back to the time that last year when the Minister was still recently deployed to the Department of Transport. And she laid a challenge on us. We are no longer working in silos. Whereas previously there was a lot of things that would have been done by one specific entity and another one would be done differently. We are working together as team transport and leveraging on the capacity and the expertise that all of us are embedded with. And some of the critical interventions that I knew that the Minister had come up with, you would recall, last year she instructed us to establish a National Road Safety Summit. And stemming from that National Road Safety Summit, that involved multi-stakeholders across various platforms. We had representatives from the police community forums, the road safety councils, and all the people, the stakeholders involved within the transport industry. And we have passed some resolutions and the challenges of what is it that needs to be put in place in order for us to be able to win the war against the road carnage that we're experiencing in our road. So we want to take this opportunity to recommit ourselves that as we work together, we will certainly be in a position to be able to win this whole challenge. It is all about changing people's attitudes and behaviors. With the agreements that we have in engaging community organizations, faith-based organizations, we want to be able to leverage on the power that each and every one of us has. Every life that we have lost on South African road is a life that is very important, and we want to provide the security that is given by a constitution, that life is sacred, and it is our responsibility to ensure that we give it the highest protection ever. Indeed, Road Accident Fund spends 2 billion rand every month paying victims of road accidents. We want to be able to change that situation so that we can better use that funding in order to address some of the challenges that our country is facing. So together we are fully committed and we are excited about these challenges, and we want to recommit and invite all the stakeholders. All of us must become road safety ambassadors. Individually, when you talk to your child, when you talk to your brother, you talk to your wife, you talk to your husband, each and every one of us can turn one more person to be a good road safety ambassador. This is about our country, and it is about the future development. What our government has promised to provide a safe and secure transport sector is our responsibility to be able to do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm being cautioned against time as there are other commitments that the Minister has. I trust that all the questions have been responded to. If you feel that we have not adequately responded to the question, feel free to contact myself or Mr. Semunar in the Benedor. Before I close or agenda press conference, I would like to allow the Minister an opportunity to give a closing remark. And just in case I don't get an opportunity after she has spoken, we have prepared lunch for you. It's on the boardroom where you were accommodated earlier on as we were waiting for the press conference with us. So please do join us so that we can avoid fruitless expenditure. Minister, over to you.
Thank you very much, Tiani. I want to take this opportunity to say to the ladies and gentlemen of the media, without you, this would not have been realized. Your everyday messages on radio, on TV, print media, that has contributed to the reduction. Some of you have been very active in social media, making it possible that you spread the message. I would want to say that this partnership actually speaks to the role of the media involved, because without you, I don't think we would have reached this stage. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.